idea. I know that Jacob is getting off another meeting, so he'll be joining us too.
Okay.
But I think it's a great idea to record it. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, I don't
Hi,
have
Randy.
the,
Hello.
I got it, Doctor. I got it.
Okay.
I see it's recording, so wonderful. So I think that is everyone then. So, I think Randy, I don't know if Kenny's joining.
Don't think so. Let me go check.
Okay. Alice, that's a beautiful tree blooming behind your head.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Except for those who have allergies. But it is a beautiful one.
Yeah, I see that.
So nice to see everybody.
Nice to see you. And
Good to see you.
mentioning the allergies, I'm going to have to talk about our pollen projects, but I'll save that for another time.
Oh. And I'm so excited to meet Mr. Stornetta. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes.
I've heard
That's
so
correct.
heard so many wonderful things about you.
Oh, wait, Kenny knows you.
Yes.
Yes, wait a second. Kenny?
Yeah, can I just say, Dr. Stornetta, is such a privilege for the students to be able to have you and teach them. So I just want to really, really thank you as a former parent and as an aunt, a current aunt. Thank you for everything that you bring to, all the students and it's really deeply appreciated.
Well, as I appreciate that. And as I have explained to a couple of people, I was looking for this very sort of values-based school to have an opportunity to teach in. So it was a great match when Steve Stein reached out to me.
Found the best. You definitely found the best.
And we were actually just talking about my prior lawyer connection to the patent attorney here.
Yeah. Well, Scott looks a lot more like he used to maybe 30 years ago when we did that work on the foundational technology of what's now a blockchain. That's Scott's claim to fame, and his partner, Stewie Haber, who I actually went to high school with, but don't know what happened to him.
Well, I was on the phone with him for over an hour today. We are talking to Sotheby's and Christie's about doing an NFT of that original work.
Oh, well, yes, say hi to him for me. You look just like you used to, not even any gray hair. No one else can say that, probably.
Well, I do want to make one correction. His claim to fame is that he is the computer science genius teacher at Ray Kushner High School. So, I don't know
Okay,
what
that's fine.
with blockchain and cryptocurrency. I'm just one aspect.
All you have to know is that him and his friend Stewie Haber, did foundational work in that area maybe 30 years ago. Scott, what is it about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Stuart and I were just talking about you last week because you were the first person to use the word catenate as the defining characteristic. That is the defining characteristic of the blockchain.
I guess it is. Well, that may
So that
be
is your
that's
part of your
claim
15
to
minutes.
fame.
There you go.
I think Michael's is joining us. Michael Luxembourg. He's on. He's on? I don't see him.
No, he's not in the participant waiting room now.
He says no one is there. I just sent him, the link again.
We must be in the wrong place because he's always in the right place.
Hold on.
I think he might
But
be on the
Ruben,
wrong one.
other people make the mistake that we did.
I know he was on. Oh, there's Jacob. Hello, Jacob.
hi.
There's Jacob.
Hi.
Hi, Jacob and Alice, in two different places.
Yes. Yes. Jacob is at the office and I just got home.
Jacob's
Jacob,
on
I
mute.
think you're on mute.
Jacob, you're on mute. He does better from his laptop than from the computer.
Alice, I thought you would say you like him better when he's.
Yes, she does.
I really thought you were going to say that, so I figured.
Yeah.
Okay. We're all here.
Jacob, you missed the introduction to Mr.
Dr. Stornetta.
Dr. Stornetta.
Yes. I think Michael's going to join us, but I know that Randy and Kenny may have to jump off. So maybe Rabbi Rubin, we can start and Michael will join us as we.
Right. So if
started.
Michael has to miss one part of this presentation, it's best that he misses my introduction. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm completely okay with that. And I just really, because I certainly, since we have to drop off, I'm going to not take the Rabbi Lichtenstein approach and say I can't do anything under 15 minutes. And Akiva, knowing Rabbi Lichtenstein, it's one of those stories that if it isn't true, it should be true, because and if you ever had the privilege of hearing him, I think one of his multi-syllabus words were probably 15 minutes. So I do want to introduce my actually not from a technology perspective, but from two kind of rabbinic perspectives of education. The first is that an educator has to be caring, kind, and righteous. And students learn best from teachers who show that type of compassion and support and create a safe and secure environment. The righteousness of a teacher is part of takes away from the educational transaction, and it makes it more a transmission. And I've been saying this a lot this year during COVID, because my fear during the COVID restrictions is that education has become a little bit too transactional because of the opportunities that we've missed to interact with students in a transmissional way. But teachers who see themselves as transmissions of ideas and thinking and thoughts are the ones who are the most effective and the most successful. The second most important characteristic of a teacher is a vast library of knowledge. You can never try to relate to a student on a level that a student is on, and it's not even okay just to be a little bit above a student. A teacher has to be an extremely different orbit of knowledge, because as we'll conclude in a moment, it demonstrates to students that there is no aspirational ceiling that blocks them from thinking even higher and better thoughts. And our faculty assembled here today, who are going to give you this very brief report, Dr. Stornetta, Dr. Stein, and Ms. Roth, have all demonstrated those two very important educational components for successful and very effective teachers. They're caring, they're supportive, they show incredible devotion, selfless devotion to students at all hours, during school hours and beyond school hours, without getting into the details of how much support and kind interventions they offer to our students. And the second is that their breadth of knowledge is just astonishing, which means that students are not coming into a class and seeing what they think they can achieve. They're seeing way beyond what they believe they can achieve. And by doing that, they end up achieving a lot more. So it's an honor for me to be their colleague. I hope I say that with a great deal of humility. And tonight you'll hear, or this afternoon, some brief overviews just in the few minutes that we have to get a glimpse of what our students are experiencing day by day in the school.
Okay, so I'm going to start out with just a brief overview of where we are and what we've added to the program since we last spoke. And before we do that, I just want to express, just heartfelt appreciation for the vision from this group in getting this whole program started a number of years ago already. The vision really, we started small, but the idea was to bring science back into the hands of the students. Our theme really has been from the outset one of learning science by doing science, and we've applied this in one area after another. And before we get to the focus for today, which is really the breadth and the addition and the expansion of the computer science program as led by Abbey Roth and Scott Stornetta, I just want to give a little bit of a recap of where we are in the STEM program overall, and how this has really impacted not just the students who are in the program, but really the program across the board, beyond science, beyond STEM. And we've now, from a single course, we've grown to I think if whoever's not muted, it might be a good time to mute. That's okay. So just to go over, we have a full slate of STEM related courses in engineering and genetics, robotics. We're looking at adding glass science in the near future. And we've also added a complete slate from 9th through 12th of computer science courses, including, as you'll hear from Abbey and Scott, really advanced courses that you would find at a college level, so that we can really reach the breadth of students from one end of the spectrum to the other, and really show that there is no limit in what we're able to do. The labs that we've created have paid off in so many ways, and they're advanced well beyond what's typically at a high school, or not even typical at many colleges. With our microscopy lab, we have our electron microscope, we're adding a fluorescence microscope. Actually now we have a tissue culture lab, which I'll talk about briefly, a fabrication lab, the genetics lab, electronics, all of which give the tools for students to be able to do almost anything they can imagine. Not only that, but they achieve at the highest levels. As you can see in this slide, I'm not going to go through it, but everything we have students compete in, they are bringing home, top prizes, competing at top levels. But more importantly, even when they're not taking prizes, they're really working at the forefront of fields, and their belief in what they're able to do has really expanded, changed, and they go from not believing they can do anything because they don't know what to do, to believing they can do anything because that's what we have them do. The facilities we have, particularly the tissue culture lab, which was part of the development of the program, enabled us to pivot this year and be able to develop our now well-described school-wide saliva screening process. As you can see in the image, this is really at a high level. This is a high accuracy test. And since the beginning of the year, it's helped us stay open, avoid outbreaks. And we've run more than 40,000 samples already at this point. All of this is related to what we're doing in the program. We've had students, current students, be involved in the design of the approach that we've taken to mitigation, all the way up to postgraduates who've come back and helped us in the lab. So there's a lot going on, both in the STEM program, which we're turning into STEAM. We're adding integration and collaboration with the art department as part of that. And in the research institute that we have established, that has enabled the students to really pursue frontline research in so many areas that it's really beyond anything I could have imagined. And the number of students who are participating is really well beyond what I anticipated, and it's really exciting. And that excitement goes from one student to another. We're looking to continue to expand that into other disciplines, including computer science. And already this year, we've started some projects that really have feet in both areas. And I think that's going to be very exciting going forward, including related to the current pandemic and modeling and so forth. But the focus for today is really computer science, and how we've expanded both the faculty and the program to cover all 4 years, from basic introductory computer science to integrating with some of the STEM programs, to advanced computer science, AP computer science, quantitative computer science and data modeling, which you'll hear about, and the addition of continuing this expectation that the students will be active, practical, presenting, and that they can learn from others. And I just want to share one thing that happened just this past week. Dr. Stornetta was able to invite the CEO and the CTO of an Israeli company, startup company, a major startup company, Chain Reaction, and have them speak to our students live via hookup from Tel Aviv. And this, even though it was extremely high level, we were able to bring a recognition of what really happens in the real world, and a recognition that these are people we can talk to, and not just that this is something to aspire to someday, but this is something that they can do, and something that they can look forward to and have an understanding of, and be able to reach out to people. So this is very much in our theme. I'm really proud to welcome Scott to our faculty, to our program, to our department. And as was mentioned earlier, it's really a good match, very much in line with our concept of learning science by doing science. And with this, I'm going to turn it over to Abbey Roth, who also is just a spectacularly valuable part of this program, really makes everything happen. And she'll fill you in on where we are with computer science and the students today. Thank you.
Hi, I want to reiterate sort of our appreciation for all the support that you've given us over time. This is my 4th year teaching the introductory computer science class to the 9th grade students. So it's also the 4th year that we've been teaching Python. I don't know how much computer science background people have, but Python I have found to be a great first language to teach to the 9th graders. Almost every 9th grader comes in with almost no text-based coding experience. So it's a high-level language, which makes it easiest to introduce the kids to. We usually have between 50% of the 9th grade students and 2/3 of the 9th grade students in that introductory class, and it is not leveled. There's no criteria for taking the class. We encourage the kids to come in, and we want to increase it. In fact, earlier this year, a few months ago, I had a few high school students approach me and say that they wanted to make coding more easier for the middle school students, to encourage the middle school students to feel comfortable coding, and they asked if they could start some clubs in the middle school. So we now have high school students running after school coding clubs with our middle school students. And honestly, after the first 2 meetings, I don't even sit in on the meetings anymore, because the high school kids have been so amazing. And the most fun part of it is that every week, the day after the meetings, I have other high school students coming up to me, talking about how their younger siblings in middle school are showing them the coding work that they're doing in the club. And so that's really fun, because that was the goal, to sort of inspire our middle school kids to want to take coding with us in 9th grade. So that's been working out really well. And it's nice how it was such an organic program. Our AP Comp Sci A enrollment. So AP Comp Sci A is the Java coding class. It's the object-oriented methodology course. And 3 years ago was the first year that we offered it as like a class, but we weren't teaching it in-house. We were teaching it through a live online course. We had about 10 students. That's what this chart shows you. It shows you our enrollment. But we had about 10 kids in the class that year, most of whom chose not to take the AP exam because the online live format was a little challenging. The last 2 years I've been teaching that class to our 11th and 12th graders. Last year we had 100% of the kids pass the AP exam, and this year we'll definitely have 100% of the kids pass with flying colors. This year has been something of a party for me in that class, because the kids came in so enthusiastic and so excited. And I think that that's a credit to the fact that the kids succeeded last year, so we were set up for success, but it's also the buzz around Dr. Stornetta's advanced topics course, that the kids know that they want to take the AP Comp Sci A class, they want to understand it, they want to do well, so that they're set up really well to take Dr. Stornetta's class the next year. So that's been really good. In addition, we are doing something new and different next year. So we have about 12 students enrolled from the 11th and 12th grade in AP Comp Sci next year, but we're also doing something new and different, which is that we identified a small group of our 9th graders in the intro class who are flying, who are doing everything that I teach them and much, much more. And that smaller group of 10th grades, not the current 9th graders, next year in 10th grade, we are going to incorporate AP Comp Sci into my scientific engineering course. So I'm going to cover both curriculums with them next year, and we're going to have that small group of 10th grade students also sit for the AP exam. So they will be ready to take Dr. Stornetta's advanced classes starting in 11th grade, which will increase the number of kids that can have that great opportunity. And I think that's it from my perspective. I'm going to hand it over to Scott to talk about his advanced courses, and then we can take some questions.
You're muted, Scott.
Hold on, I have to.
Okay. I hope that what I say isn't worse than what you were thinking I was saying when I was muted. I guess I just want to jump in and endorse a couple of things that have been mentioned already. And I'm going to try to be very brief because I do want to leave time for questions. One, that this is very much a student-centered effort, okay? Two, that this is the part of computer science where they get to study something where we don't have answers in the back of the book, okay? And it's really as much about the method of exploring and learning an unknown topic. Rabbi Rubin charitably suggested that students that work with us realize that we have no boundaries to our, no ceiling. But what no ceiling really means is we recognize when we don't know something, and we show the students that we also simply know how to explore into unknown areas. Okay? We know the methods of learning the new. And I just want to, I want to briefly refer to the link that I would encourage anyone to take a look at, this Wall Street Journal article. It's written by someone that had lots of job openings, but for most of the graduates that were applying, he couldn't hire them. And he explained why. That he said, coding has reached a point where no matter what your job function is in an American company, if you don't have some coding background, you're at a deficit. And I believe strongly that coding is a kind of new version of literacy. And I very much am in favor not just of teaching the best and the brightest, but of bringing a coding experience and a coding mindset, exposing all sorts of the entire academic range of students to that. I'd say more about that, but we're short on time, and so I want to switch over to that other link. Many of you are familiar that we have a website that is student-run called rkyhs.buzz. But this year we launched with Ms. Roth's students and herself and myself working together, rkyhs.tech. And one of the unique distinguishing features of it is that it is built from the ground up without use of any sort of templates or forms. The students have to learn how to code all the aspects of the website in order to build it. And this is very much student-driven. And I just want to focus in on a couple of the classes that I've been teaching. If you could go first to the quantitative computer science class. And there you'll see that each unit of topics that we've covered results in a presentation that the students make to their parents and administrators and other students at the school, and those are recorded. And so we started out studying Monte Carlo methods. We went on to study least squares regression and multivariate regression. And then we did a unit on Fourier series. And now we're doing a unit on computer vision algorithms as a way of exposing them to the tools that modern scientists use to evaluate and process data. And these are all student-driven. Let's go over to the other class as well. Again, I invite you to take a look at any of these videos that seem of interest. Next, in the advanced computer science class, which is a kind of like advanced topics in computer science, we piggybacked on top of a Hebrew University course that taught how to go all the way from the zeros and ones of so-called NAND gates, all the way up to what it takes to build a Tetris game. Okay, truly the full stack. And then they said, the students caused me to pivot the class, if you could just scroll down just a little bit more. And they said, but we want to actually build a computer. And so we have been building a computer just from the NAND gates up. And for those of you that know this space, 555 timers and NAND gates, a little bit of RAM, and everything else is built from scratch. And this is just a wonderful hands-on experience for the students to realize what a computer really is doing. Now, our computer has its limitations because it only has about 40 bytes of RAM, but it can add two large numbers together, and it can also subtract the numbers. It does other things too, but it's not so much about building an advanced computer as really understanding computer architecture. We're going to finish out the year with a unit. First, we did a unit on machine learning, and then we're finishing out with one on cryptography and blockchain, but not how to get rich, just how to enrich the world. At any rate, I just want to truncate my comments right there, simply because I'm sure there is Q&A, and I'm mindful of the time.
So I guess we'll throw it out for comments and questions. I do want to mention before we get to that really in every field, including in computer science, this year, we had a student who was awarded the 2021 Cutler Bell Prize, which is, I believe it's given to 4 students nationally. This is an extremely prestigious scholarship award to advanced computer science students. So it's really every field we're moving at the very highest levels. And I think we built a foundation to be able to do that going forward. And where the limit is, I will never find out. So, any questions, comments, thoughts from anyone? I will notice we kept right to 5:30.
I'll comment. My overall reaction is wow. First of all, kudos to the school for recruiting an outstanding computer scientist like Scott Stornetta. He and I go back maybe 30 years, as we said before, and I think it's an excellent addition to the school. And all I can tell you is I did not learn Fourier series or Monte Carlo or things like that until I was in graduate school at MIT. And here it's being taught in high school. So that's a pretty significant achievement. And again, kudos to the school for making this happen.
And
well said.
Kudos to the
Well said.
Mendelssohns for really making it a reality.
I want to come and take the first coding class, the 9th graders.
Alice, thank you for recognizing Anna's maiden name, but also I want to say,
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. You know, See, Anna Mendelson, right? I'm so sorry.
So
Akiva, you'll forgive me, right?
That's fine.
You know.
So I know that Rabbi Rubin and I wanted to say a few words also, just to thank you all. Rabbi, I know that you wanted to share some thoughts about, you know, how we got to this moment. We've seen the growth with Dr. Stein and Abbey and now Dr. Stornetta. We really have, it's been an exciting several years since we began the program. And I know we wouldn't be here without all of you making this possible.
I thank you, Lauren. Just maybe if Anna or Akiva wanted to say that, felt better. I don't want to limit any comments or responses or questions that anybody has before I jump in, because that's kind of like the call to the curtain. So keep it done.
Okay, so I can just echo the same sentiments of wow. You know, my kids are graduated. They would have so loved to have been able to experience this, but I'm just delighted that the next generation and the next group of students can just benefit. Wow is pretty much the best way to describe it.
When our son graduated a long time ago, he said to us, it's a great school and I got a great education, but the computers program has to step up. And I know that we will share this recording with him. I think he will be floored. 100%. Thank you. Beautiful. We're so proud. We're so honored to be part of this.
You know, I would echo this. Our kids would have loved this. And I agree with what Ken said. These topics are not typically taught in many undergraduate classes. Certainly I didn't learn any of this stuff in high school. I did have one question, like, how do students kind of filter themselves between the two courses, the quantitative one and the advanced one? The quantitative one seems a little more kind of, well, I guess by its name, kind of mathy. The other one may be a little more kind of engineering oriented to some degree. So I'm just kind of curious, do you anticipate that students would take both or one before the other? Or how do you see them interplaying?
Sure. Yeah, it's a moving target, but I think you're right. And I think there is a natural sequencing in that. The first class, actually, the advanced topics class is more accessible to someone that has any sort of programming background. Whereas the quantitative methods really presupposes an understanding of BC calculus.
Yeah, that makes sense. And as a follow-up, have you thought about, I know one thing, I know when we started, talking to Dr. Stein, and Abbey and Rabbi Rubin about this years ago, we thought about, we talked to our kids who some of whom have majored in computer science in college, and after, we said to them, after advanced CS, which way would you go? And there's obviously a zillion different directions one can go, but a lot of them take things like data structures and algorithms. And I don't know if you've given thought to any of those topics, or or do you think that these topics are better? How do you think about that? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, it's a fair question. So next year I'll be teaching the Computer Science A, and my feeling is the course is constrained enough in that they have limited the topics covered over the years, that I actually think the sort of algorithms and data structures can be overlaid there at a minimum at the end of the year after the AP exam. But I think that's where it naturally fits. I think to me, what's interesting about those other two courses, though, is that you define a target of what you want to be able to do. And then if it requires learning about data structures and algorithms, then they're incentivized in a very natural way to understand this or that issue. And being able to imagine the endpoint, that the students themselves are able to imagine the endpoint and then, in a sense, close the gap to get to the endpoint is a much more natural way of introducing some of these things. And so I think it also fits there. I hope that's responsive to your question.
Yeah, totally.
Dr. Stornetta, you mentioned that you feel that computer science is something that's important for everyone. And I know it sounds like a lot of the students are taking AP Computer Science A. And it sounds like the tippy top of the group are able to take your two other classes. Have you given thought to offering a class for people who have taken Computer Science A but aren't quite, they're not quite there to take those other two classes that you're teaching?
Again, this is shared territory with myself and Abbey. But one thing I do want to just tweak my statement slightly. What I think is essential is that everyone should be exposed to coding. And I would draw a little bit of a distinction between that and computer science.
I'd also point out, just to clarify, that every student, every 11th grader who's taking AP Comp Sci is taking Dr. Stornetta's classes. So we're just trying to expand the group of students that takes AP Comp Sci in the 10th and 11th grades, because the 12th graders haven't been able to have, right? If you saved AP Comp Sci for 12th grade, then it didn't happen. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to push the AP class down so that there's more students who do have that.
I guess I had a threshold moment a few years ago when I was teaching at another school. And what happened was a history teacher had assigned a project for their history class, and it was on the Vikings, some aspect of Viking culture. And I had a student who, instead of writing a paper, built an interactive website on Viking culture, entirely based on their coding skills. And it really was a watershed moment for me, because I realized that if we could teach some basic coding, things that everybody could feel comfortable with, students would feel, to use an overused word, empowered to be able to turn projects all across the academic spectrum into ones that demonstrated their ability to conceptualize these projects as something coded. And that was really the light bulb moment for me. So it's not that I need to feel everyone needs to learn computer science, but the core concepts of coding and constructing these things, I want students to feel like I could do that if I wanted to. If I was interested in a topic, I could make that.
I'm going to jump in to try to not wrap it up, because this is just an introduction. We should continue meeting on a weekly basis. When I first started, I thanked our faculty, and I want to circle back to what Lauren said, and a little bit personal. Every family in this on this Zoom call, the Kleins, Michael, Dicksteins, Rubensteins, have had a significant impact on the way that we are making decisions in the long and the short term of the schools. Without going to each anecdotal experience I've had with you, and maybe sometimes I've frustrated you, and I hope that you remember only the positive meetings, but you all have demonstrated incredible vision for what the school can be, and not looking at a ceiling like I started earlier, but looking more of an aspirational place. And when we first went down this path, it was with an unknown destiny. And now, as Dr. Stornetta said, we certainly now know what questions to ask as we shift, not our priorities, but as our focus begins to expand and to realize so much more that we can possibly do. So on behalf of the school and myself personally, professionally, I have grown so much as a professional because of my ongoing engagement with you. And the inspiration you've given us is literally what Jeremy Halpin had once said earlier to me, is during his presidency, which I hope he long live the king, he lasted for that job for a long time. He said that someone in the generation before stepped up, leaned in, and made the difference so the next generation could benefit. And maybe there were definite deficits in the earlier years, and it's a growing and evolving dynamic. But what you're all doing is making sure that the next generation will see the benefits of what you're bringing to the school now, so that someone else in another generation will step up to continue evolving and growing the school, the community, and I may say so, the Jewish community. So I'm really very grateful to you on a personal level, on a professional level, and an institutional level. There is no ceiling to probably contain the amount of gratitude we have for you, and looking forward to these types of meetings way into the future.
You honor us. I'm going to cry. This is really very special, and you make us very proud. And you know what, Rabbi Rubin, we could have the best ideas in the world, but if we didn't have the leader at the helm to accept and to take it to the next step, we would be nowhere. So, Yasher Koach to all of you.
Really a great job. And, you know, the Dicksteins did get this portion of the program stood up and you know, inspired that to happen, of course, with the professionals. But Alice and Jacob and Randy and Kenny, you really were the early supporters of STEM. You saw what was needed. You didn't want us to be ordinary in that regard. And as Kenny said, which is really amazing, that, you know, what Kenny was learning in graduate school, our students are doing in high school. It's, I'm really speechless after that.
Bravo.
I'm sorry. I know that Anna, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. I just wanted to thank so much the faculty and Rabbi Rubin for bringing this all to fruition. You know, to echo what Alice was saying.
And it's
we had a vision of what we wanted to do and where we wanted to go, and you guys got us there. So,
Amazing leadership. Amazing
thank
leadership.
And Donnie, let's not forget Donnie Dickstein, who wrote out a curriculum map for me when we were struggling to find the right teacher. So, you know, Gam Charvona Zachur Latov. I mean, sometimes there are minor players in the story that have a very significant role.
Beautiful.
I want to also say that unfortunately, I know Leah Spielman was going to join us today, Leah Gross-Spielman, and I know that she and Joel have also been foundational supporters of the STEM program. Hopefully they'll have a chance to see the recording. And we are profoundly grateful to everyone who really, you know, started the program. And I can tell you, speaking a little bit as a parent, over the last 5 years, I had children in the school before this program began, and I have children who I still have one left in the school. And just knowing that these opportunities exist now, and so many students have the opportunity to take part in it, it's really, it has a profound impact on their path forward in life. And how great is it that it starts now in high school, not at college. So we really have, we've done quite a lot of work, and we look forward to doing that as we move forward as well to continue to grow.
Bravo. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Dr. Stornetta, it's great to meet you. We've heard so much about you. It's a pleasure to meet you in person.
As soon as COVID is over, come on into the building.
Yes.
Hope to see everybody at the dinner on May 25th. Is it, Lauren?
Yes, I was just going to thank you, Alice. I can always count on you for having my back. And I did want to mention that we're very proud to be recognizing all of our faculty and staff, and especially we're going to shine some of the amazing work he's done in building an incredibly innovative STEM program overall. And we hope that you'll join us on May 25th. We'll have hopefully a nice video tribute to him. And I think you'll all enjoy it, because it speaks to some of the growth and expansion of the program that you've helped create.
A well-deserved honor.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
Wonderful.
thank you so much,
very much.
everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
We
Great
look
to meet
forward
all
to
of you.
more.
Be well, everybody.
Except for Kenny.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.